So hello and welcome today to another one of our dental business transaction podcasts, and I have enormous pleasure in inviting Richard Howarth to talk to me about the Dental Mavericks. The Dental Mavericks is a charity, and Richard is going to tell me all about it in the next 20 minutes or so. But before we start, Richard, tell me a little bit, first of all, how did we first meet and a bit about your background?
Okay, so the first meeting was actually through Abby, and basically I used to be a practice owner, and probably over the last sort of 5 years or so I've been gradually working the practice up to the point of sale, and Abby's been in a few times to value it and then ultimately helped me steer through the rocky and waters of practice sale.
It's like the Grand National, isn't it, Richard?
Yeah. Well, it's definitely a roller coaster with highs and lows, and there's many of each. And with Abby's guidance, we got the practice sale through just before COVID crisis sort of took off. So I have to say I breathed a massive sigh of relief, because I think I would have been a lot more stressed having to keep the practice going through that sort of period of time.
And you're very happy, obviously, with the choice that you made, and then we helped steer you towards. So it was a good result in the end for you, wasn't it?
It was a super result. But I'm really loving being just the dentist and just being really patient-centric.
Tell me about, because I hear from Abby that you are a very keen designer. You have designed a product, so let's hear about this first.
Okay, well, so what happened was, obviously when COVID sort of hit, going back in time, so this is very early on in my career. I was a hospital dentist, so I was a junior, as they call you, junior doctor though, dentist, and one of the clinics that I was involved in running was a HIV clinic. So this is sort of late 80s. So at this stage, I suppose we knew as much about HIV as we did about coronavirus at the beginning. It was one of those where we were really frightened of it. And I remember I had to be, fully gowned. We had to wear foot coverings, head coverings, double gloved, mask, visor, to do simple dentistry on these poor people, which... And I remember how uncomfortable that was for me, but I equally remember how intimidating that was for the patients. I really did feel very sorry for them. Although they were obviously getting the dental treatment that they needed, it was in a very alien environment. One, they had to come to hospital for the treatment, and two, we really looked like, we were petrified of them the way we were all gowned up. And I thought, God, if I've got to go back and do dentistry, I just don't fancy being, gowned up in the same way, or certainly wearing visors in the same way. And I was also concerned about the visor sort of coming from your top of your head down versus, in a different way. And, I think I'm going to be wearing a mask. That's probably going to be an FFP3. I've got to wear my lubes or my glasses. And then I'm going to have something else on my head. This is just like, how do I manage all of this? And I was out in the garden, in actual fact, because as you remember, we started off with this really beautiful weather, didn't we? And I was out strimming, and I'd got like my sort of face guard on. And I thought, hang on a minute, what happens if I hang this around my neck rather than put it on my head? And that's exactly what I did. I sort of turned the visor upside down, and I sort of came up with this sort of prototype here, which is basically a upside down visor. So rather than that way round, you wear it that way round your neck. And so I went from making it out of bits of cardboard and string and trying it out on the kids and the wife, and to actually going into injection molding, design, manufacture, patents, registered design. So it was it really did. Yeah, it was exciting in one sense, because it was so different from what I'd been doing before. And then we launched it with the dental profession, and we've been selling it, to dentists who want something slightly different, but it gives you protection from your chest up so that nothing really comes up underneath it.
Well, that's remarkable, and well done you for designing something like that, and what a great time for it now.
Yeah.
Ever more so. And what about other interests outside of obviously your dentistry, your design? And we'll get on shortly to the Dental Mavericks, which is the sort of really key focus today to hear all about it. Anything else you get time for?
Well, I've always been keen in water sports, so a bit like yourself, I enjoy sailing, both little boats and big boats. Anything to do with the water, really, whether it's trying to surf, swimming in the sea, fishing, although I don't do very much of that so much nowadays. Just usually if I need to pull up a few fish up for a barbecue or something like that. I've really got back into gardening in a big way. I'm sort of rewilding my garden and sort of working towards growing pretty much as much of the food that we need in the garden at the moment. So that's going quite well. I've probably had my most productive year so far. So we'll see how that goes. And then general sports. So I like to be outside. So I've sort of mountain biked on and off most of my life. And in this sort of last 12 months, I've started doing a little bit of road cycling, which is probably where we're going with this.
So you're a bit of an action man, really, aren't you, on the quiet?
Yeah, well, I just want to. Yeah, well,
you're an active person.
I'm an active person, and I think
good.
I can't. I'm not one of these people just to sit down. I like to be doing
pack
stuff.
Life out. That's good.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Let's talk about the Dental Mavericks, because I had obviously heard about this through other clients, and Abby's told me about it, and that was why really that piqued my interest, and I wanted to talk to you today. I know that obviously we've just recently sponsored you for your upcoming event, which you're off on Wednesday, is that right?
Yeah, down to Cornwall on Wednesday.
So tell me about the Dental Mavericks. How did it start? How did you get involved?
Well, it started through one of the... I employed a guy called Tony Gedge to help me with the marketing of the practice. Probably about 15 years ago, I realised that actually being a good dentist wasn't the be all and end all. It didn't sort of necessarily bring you lots of clients, and realised I had to be a bit smarter with my marketing, and I learnt a bit, and then I employed Tony, and we went on a retreat over to Spain where Tony lives.
As you do.
Me and Jenny, my wife, with about probably half a dozen dentists and partners, and during that, Tony was talking about and his wife Callie were talking about the fact that they'd been over to Morocco and they'd been staggered how bad the children's teeth were. They'd been into the Rift Mountains in and around Chefchaouen, and I suppose over a bottle or few of Rioja we got to the point where, well, is there anything we could possibly do? And that ended up with a sort of a little foray into the Rift Mountains, getting a license to provide some dental treatment in a small school. And I think we basically carried our own kit with us. So, we didn't have any equipment. We literally were doing it in school rooms, on school chairs, with little tiny kids, and probably treated about 50 or 60 kids on that first visit. It very quickly went. I think at first they thought we were just going to be there, fly in, fly out, would never come back again. And the fact we just kept on going back and back and back and back, and it grew from there. So we gradually got more volunteers who wanted to go out there. We ended up obviously getting a load of kit together, which initially we stored in southern Spain and then transported into Morocco. Gradually we then built up our contacts with the health authority in Morocco. We've got storage in Morocco and it's managed in Morocco. We've now actually got a permanent clinic in Morocco in Chefchaouen, although at the moment we can't run that because of the COVID restrictions in Morocco. So we've got quite a lot going on in Morocco. On the back of that, we were invited by another NGO to go and help out in the Syrian refugee camps in Greece. So we've still got those contacts going, and hopefully, we're more on the recruiting side of things. So we sort of help to find the people who will volunteer to go into those camps now. But I've been out there, and I can tell you, we went out one November, and I always thought Greece was a warm country. My God, it was absolutely freezing. It was like sleety, snowy rain. where we were, and these Syrian refugees were walking around in flip-flops or no shoes.
Wow.
And it was so different from Morocco, where we're just treating very impoverished communities. Here we were treating people who I would say were like you and I. They were professionals. They were just getting away because they had a family and they just couldn't see any future for their family in Syria, and they were prepared to go to great lengths to get their family out. And some of the stories I heard from the parents and the children that we were treating were just
heartbreaking. I would imagine.
You just can't believe it. You just can't believe that a country can just tear itself apart in that way and do so much damage.
It must have had a profound effect on you as well to do this and to be able to play a part.
I think the biggest impact that it had on me was my team used to have to really rein me in when I got home, because you looked at what we had and what your appreciation. I suppose it's a bit like I think a lot of us have had time to sort of stop and look around and appreciate some of the stuff that we've got, and how important it was that we were socializing and things like that. And it was a bit like that for me. Every time I came home, it was like, oh my God, you just can't believe how good a service we're offering here. And then you get somebody moaning about the fact there was some litter in the car park and I was about to strangle them because, it just seemed like this is so unimportant. The fact I haven't clipped, the bushes back in the car park for 2 weeks doesn't matter. You're getting amazing dental care. And if you'd only be with me in Morocco and seen how bad the kids were, you wouldn't, sort of thing. And
stop sweating the small stuff. That's right. It does. It polarizes what is important and what's not. And people they can lose all focus of what really matters in life, and obsess about stuff that is completely irrelevant, really, in the whole scheme of things. So, how many of you are in the Dental Mavericks, and how often do you try and get overseas?
Well, in terms of the trustees, there's about there's about 7 or 8 of us, including Jill, who's over in New Zealand.
Yes.
So she brings a whole crowd over from New Zealand when we get going in Morocco. We've got a permanent clinic in Lebanon as well, which is still running. That's the one thing we have managed to keep going, because we've got a field worker out there permanently. And the way we operate out there is that the Lebanese dentists are really struggling for work because, I don't know whether you know, but their economy is absolutely bombed. They've got inflation, which is at 1,000%, and it's just a disaster out there again at the moment. And therefore nobody can afford the dentistry, whereas we're sort of going in as an NGO. We've got hard currency, US dollars, and we can actually pay the local dentist to treat. And our remit is we treat needy Lebanese, Syrian refugees, and we've also had although we've come into the end of that, we were looking after people who'd had dental injuries following the blast in Beirut. Of course, it's by employing a local dentist to provide the services, and we just watch the quality, we've got very detailed reports on what's actually being done and who they're doing it to and everything else. Then we can provide treatment for a patient for well under $20, $15. You get amazing dental treatment, sort of thing. So our money goes a long way. We're probably not going to be inviting people to volunteer to Lebanon. It's just
too dangerous.
Getting in there, it's too dangerous.
Yeah.
We're hoping, and it's looking like, because Morocco's actually doing quite well on the COVID side of things, it's looking like we might be able to start some trips. And we've actually got a provisional trip booked out to Morocco in September, October time, subject to everything being all right. Usually we run between 2 and 3 visits out each year to various areas in Morocco. So we're always looking for volunteer dentists, volunteer dental nurses, and people who want to just do administration for us. So, just if you're interested in anything like that, you just need to go to dentalmavericks.org. And there's a section there where you can either donate or you can volunteer, and the team will be very, very quickly responding and looking for your help.
Okay, lovely. That's good. And volunteering is a very worthy thing to do, of course, as well. And I think that there should be people out there that are keen to get involved in any way that they can, as well as subscribing. Going back to the money side of things, typically if someone was to make, for example, a £50 donation to the charity, what kind of treatments would that cover? What would you get for that £50 to contribute to the cause?
Obviously, £50 would probably, if my memory serves me right, would provide all health products for about 2 schools for a whole year.
Wow, that's extraordinary, isn't it?
You know, with the donations.
So, well, let's hope people give a bit more than 50 quid, but that's good to know. So, now tell me about what other things, because first of all, you're going cycling, yes? Land's End to John O'Groats, starting this Thursday, isn't it? You're going?
Thursday morning,
right, okay.
In the middle of the storm that's coming in.
Yeah, I know.
I've just been watching
the weather's rubbish, isn't it? I'm looking out the window now and it's just, for the middle of May, it's just, goodness me. How many of you are going on the cycle ride?
It's a guided tour. I decided to do that rather than just organise it myself on the basis that with everything going on, I just needed that extra support. So there's basically me doing it for Dental Mavericks.
Yep.
There's 2 other people I know on the tour who are relatively keen cycle tour. They've done other cycle tours.
Yep.
So I think they sort of got me involved in it. And then there's about another 16 people who I don't know, but I'm sure I will know after 14 days of cycling.
How's your cycle fitness? Are you ready? Are you as good as you're ever going to be?
I think so. You know, at the end of the day, I've been training hard for 20 plus weeks. I've had a real, I've stuck at it through thick and thin, not knowing whether we were going to go at times in terrible weather during the winter. As you all know, it's not been the best of starts weather-wise, 2021. I think the answer is physically, I think I'm there. Well, I'll never know. You know, when have I ever cycled for 2 weeks? Mentally, my brain says, look, you can do it.
Of course you can.
Yeah.
You know you can do it. How long do you anticipate it taking you?
Well, it's 14 days every day, cycling every single day.
Right.
A short day is about 65 miles. Mm-hmm. But short days mean hilly days.
All right.
So there's always a rub. You don't go very far, but you got a lot of this. And then a long day is usually about 80 miles.
Right.
And then we've got one section which, unfortunately, due to COVID, because we should have started on Sunday, but of course we had to wait till everything opened up, and so it's been a bit delayed.
Yeah.
It meant that one of our accommodations just didn't work out, and that means we've got a 100-mile day, which is from Moffat through Edinburgh up to Perth. So that is going, I'm fingers crossed the wind is going to be behind us that day and it's not going to rain. I think that's what we need, because that's going to be...
And of course the pubs will be open, Richard, so you will be able to go inside and have a cleansing ale at the end of a tough day, if that training schedule permits.
Yeah, well, I'm not a great big drinker, but maybe the odd pint, maybe.
Odd little livener. Keep you going.
Keep me going, yeah.
Tell me what other things you've done then for Dental Mavericks, because you've done some pretty exciting things.
Okay, so I've done quite a few mad things over my time. I remember one of my patients saying to me, "Why don't you do something that would frighten you?" And I go, "Because we're frightened of coming to the dentist." I said, "Well, I don't know what you're thinking about." She said, "I don't know." And I said, "Well, I'll tell you what I could do. Why don't I write to the aquariums and see whether I can go in with a toothbrush and clean the shark's teeth in one of the aquariums?"
Yeah.
So I wrote to about half a dozen aquariums around the country. The Blue Planet Aquarium in Chester came back to me and said, "Yeah, no probs.
Brilliant.
When do you want to do it?" So I went up to the aquarium in Chester and chucked on my scuba gear, picked up my big yellow toothbrush and dropped in the tank.
The big one. Was it a special custom-made toothbrush, was it, for sharks?
Well, it was just
like a toilet brush.
You can get these sort of play toothbrushes, which was about a great big yellow one about this size. So it was.
Oh, brilliant.
So I did that.
How did it go down, by the way? How did you?
Yeah, again, we raised a lot of money, and it was a good
fun.
There was a lot of chat and on social media about it, and it got quite a good lot of press and made the local papers and all that sort of thing, which was nice. And then, The other thing I've done, again, this was cycling. So we cycled into the Sahara Desert.
Right.
So we had a week cycling. We started up in the Atlas Mountains, the other side of Uzasat, and then cycled down the Valley of the Roses and then out into the dunes. And not that we could cycle in the dunes. I think I had this image that it was all going to be sandy and dunes, but it's not. There's areas where the sand's blown.
Yes.
And stays there, and then there's other bits which are just barren where everything's been blown off it.
So going back to the bike ride, how much are you hoping to raise on this particular excursion, adventure?
Well, my target's £5,000. If I can get £5,000, that means every mile that I cycle is worth £5 because it's 1,000 miles, circa 1,000 miles from Land's End to John O'Groats. It's a bit less if you go direct and use all the main roads, but of course that's never a good thing when you're on a bike. So we're wiggling a little bit. So it's just under 1,000 miles from top to toe, or toe to top in actual fact. So yeah, that would be great. If every mile I feel like I've raised another £5 would be amazing. So
that would be fantastic. Well, we'll be following you and tracking you. Will you be putting out posts on any kind of social media throughout the journey? I know that you've got a link, haven't you, to your progress, but can people track you on, how can they see what you're up to?
So there's a couple of different ways. One is if you go to my Virgin Giving account. So you can do that by just going to Virgin Giving. We use Virgin Giving because they don't take anything. All the money goes straight to the charity. And if you just type in Richard Howarth or Richard's Land's End to John O'Groats cycle, which is a bit longer, so it might be quicker just to go Virgin Giving, Richard Howarth. I'm like the first person who comes up, and there's a bit there which says cycling from Land's End to John O'Groats. So if you click on that link, that takes you there. That has my Strava. And then the practice, obviously, they're obviously keen to support me. So they'll be getting daily updates at the practice. So it's probably going to be on Smile Styles Facebook.
Nice.
And Instagram, no doubt.
Wonderful. Well, look, it's been fascinating and really enjoyable listening to everything that you get up to. You're certainly a very busy man and you're doing something very, very worthwhile. So I urge everybody listening to please donate and please get involved in any way, however small, because everything really matters. It counts. And Richard, thank you for your kindness in spending time talking to me today. And it's always a pleasure talking to you. And I wish you the very best of luck. I shall be tracking you.
Yeah,
and
awesome.
Let's pick up a chat. Let me know when your next venture is, and we look forward to supporting you again in any way we can. So have a great time. I hope the weather's good for you. Goodness me, we're due some, aren't we?
Well, I don't think it's going to be in the first week, but there we go. You know, wind and rain, we'll be all right.
You'll be all right. You'll be good. Lovely. Thank you very much.
Take care.
Take care. All the best. Good luck.